The guys give a Chevy Impala a Mythbusters tune-up.
Go ahead, tailgate, see if I care.
To test the legend that if you fit it with astronomic rockets, it will really fly.
The Batmobile can kiss my butt.
Forget about portion control. We're ordering up a giant jumbo serve of supersized rocket car. It was the myth that launched the legend.
Yeehaw!
Our very first Mythbusters ever, Jato rocket car.
And so the fun begins.
Check out how fresh-faced Adam looks. But Jamie doesn't seem like he's aged a day. Could those robot rumors really be true? The story that started it all was this. Supposedly, an Air Force sergeant strapped a JATO, or Jet-Assisted Takeoff Unit, to a 67 Chevy Impala. Upon ignition, the car got up to a scorching 300 miles an hour when it hit a bump in the road. Launched into the air, he flew for 1.5 miles until the side of a mountain brought his journey and himself to an end. It sure was a blast.
I'm gonna have a grinectomy.
But unleashing the Chevy in the desert with 1,500 pounds of rocket propellant strapped to its back, it only reached 150 miles an hour, and there was no liftoff. So how do they plan to take this tale to supersize status?
Well, you know, the first time we tried this, we only replicated half of the myth. We did the circumstances of the myth. This time we need to replicate the results of the myth.
Specifically, the car increasing to 350 miles an hour, flying over a mile in the air before embedding itself into a cliff. Those circumstances?
Those circumstances. The key idea is airborne.
Okay, so how are we going to get it airborne this time?
I don't see any need to mess around with it. Let's just use a ramp.
First, they have to find another Chevy Impala. The original mysteriously disappeared from M5 years ago.
He sold it!
I did not sell it.
After the pilots, he's like, I don't really see any place this show Mythbusters can go.
That's pretty much it. Well, that was fun.
Our researchers have scoured the classic auto classifieds once again and found another.
Yeah.
Adam.
I'm Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
The guys look under the hood,
Oh, look at that.
Shiny parts.
rev the engine, inspect the interior,
The upholstery is like cherry.
and the deal is done.
I think this will do just fine. You
I
got
think
yourself a deal.
All right.
Then they tell Robert exactly what they're going to do with his baby.
It's going to go a lot faster than it would normally, and it's most likely going to be the last thing this car ever does.
Yeah, goodbye, Holly.
Oh, you named it Holly?
Yeah.
Oh, man, the car has a name.
Holly, some cars are born bad.
When internal combustion just isn't enough.
Before sending their cherry upholstery into the clouds, the guys need to conduct some tests. So Adam's going to make exact reproductions of Holly to scale. First, Adam pays a visit to our computer geek, Chris.
I need to use Jamie's laser scanner to scan that and make it about 2.5 feet long.
Okay.
Chris scans each of its surfaces with a laser and creates a 3D graphic.
Dude, look at that. Wow.
Then he transfers the information to a CNC machine, a computer-controlled mill, and inserts a block of sturdy foam.
Dude. Wow.
The CNC is one fine whittler.
That is so awesome.
Next, it's time for a ride in the vacuform.
My foam master is ready to mold. This is a piece of plastic. When it heats up under this heater, I will pull it down over the foam buck, and that will create my master pattern for the Impala bodies. That is lovely. Look at that.
Now that's one hot-looking car. Adam makes multiple molds.
I always like to vacuum form extra things when I'm going, because they're fun.
Then Jess and Dennis do some custom detailing. With the assembly plant in top gear, Jamie sets out to weigh the real Impala. If they don't mimic its specs precisely, the entire experiment could be thrown off balance.
On the car, I need to know what its balance point is. If I put like a pivot underneath it, I need to know where the car would balance out. That's its center of gravity, or CG. So Jamie's going to take it to a metal place where they've got a big scale, and then through that determine what its CG is.
3,700 pounds.
Now Adam can distribute the load on his reproduction chassis exactly to scale.
So all I need to do is add 5 more pounds of weight to this and make sure that 55% of its total weight is ahead of the center line, just like on the real car specs.
He adds 5 pounds to the frame, welds 3 mini rocket housings on top, and his to-scale 67 Chevy Impala is complete, right down to the custom plates.
Big or small, send them in to discovery.com/mythbusters. Preferably myths on beaches and tropical locations.
Are there any supermodel myths?
Robot myths.
No.
How you doing?
Rocketry expert Eric is in charge of getting things all fired up. While Adam preps the car, Jamie gets to work measuring and setting up a ramp.
Looks like a ramp to me.
So how's the test going to run?
At the go signal, I'm going to start the car towards the ramp. When it's about 3/4 of the way towards the ramp, Eric will press launch. The car plus the rockets are going to take off, and well, if everything goes right, they're going to fly over 1,000 feet.
Now, to see if the ramp will give the guys the liftoff they're looking for.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. That didn't go the way I expected, really.
The rockets went off, but so did the car. Every which way but where it should.
When we add this much power to a vehicle, if it's not really carefully done, the vehicle can go out of control. And that's exactly what happened. It went off. You can even see this line here. It took off at a right angle instead of going straight.
To try and rein it in, Adam adjusts the speed of the run-up.
In 3, 2, 1.
But again, it veers off course.
The second I hit the ramp, the rocket goes off. It veers off.
Well, you know, I just had a thought.
Yeah.
When they make a real rocket, they don't put the rocket engines on the side or the top of the rocket. They put it at the back of the rocket, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we put the rocket on the back of the rocket? You know, the engine's on the back. If we put it on the roof, of course it's going to do something weird.
Right, right.
To try and eliminate the weirdness, Adam reconfigures the chassis. So instead of being on top of the car, the rockets will sit on the back. They're also going to increase the amount of propulsion.
We just used an F motor. This time let's use a K motor. It's 10 times the thrust. We'll get that car to fly.
On their scale model Chevy, these rockets are the equivalent of a super-sized 10,000 pounds of thrust.
3,
T-minus 3 seconds and counting.
1, go.
This time the Impala launches over the ramp and flies into the stratosphere. Sort of.
Let's get down there with the fire extinguisher.
The trail of burn marks across the floor and all the way out the door is just what they were hoping for.
There it is. Well, there's your problem. We lost the front end.
Putting the rocket on the center line of the car is clearly the way to go. It gave us a marked improvement on this flight. We also gave it considerably more power, and we got a nice, clean trajectory off the ramp. I think that's what we need to do on the full-size car. We're good to go.
Eric, that's for your trophy room there.
Me and Adam are trying to find out if you put giant rockets on the back of a car, will it become one?
Let's talk about rockets for a second.
Okay, the rockets we're going to put in our car are made of something called ammonium perchlorate. Now, this was first developed around 1940, And it was inspired by Greek fire, actually, which was developed 1,500 years earlier. And the key idea here is that it was a liquid that they could heat up and cast and form it into this tubular shape that you need that burns from the inside out.
And if I'm correct, the rocket fuel that we're using in our rockets for the rocket car is pretty much the same stuff they used in the solid boosters on the space shuttle.
It's the real stuff, baby.
We're using real rockets.
Yeah, they're serious rockets.
Jamie starts modifying the Chevy. These serious, supersized casings will house rockets with 10,000 pounds of thrust. With this amount of power, the rockets themselves are being made off-site at one of the premier manufacturers in the nation.
In this particular case, this is like a controlled explosion that is going on here because this rocket fuel, it's essentially an explosive. When you get it that large, you know, it's best handled by the professionals.
Jamie makes some room in the trunk.
That's the ticket.
And he and Jess slot the pipes into it.
Go ahead, tailgate, see if I care.
But all the extra poundage on the Impala's rear end needs to be addressed, or it won't be fit to fly.
It's important to have the center of gravity, in other words, most of the weight forward of the center line of a rocket. We do that so that it balances correctly, it flies correctly. If we don't do that, we'll have a rocket that might like flip in mid-flight.
He adds extra beef to the front end by placing weights around the engine.
We're putting 600 pounds of rocket engine in the back. So I put 600 pounds of barbell weights and scrap steel in the front. Therefore, this 55-45 relationship that the car already has is maintained.
Thanks to Jamie and Adam's makeover, she's not only beautifully proportioned, but stable, ready for her first and most likely last debut.
The Batmobile can kiss my butt.
Jamie and Adam have been thoroughly researching and preparing for a supersized mission. Is it possible to turn a Chevy into a shuttle? Finally, after 5 years of waiting for a second shot to get a 67 Impala to fly, the day has dawned. They arrive at the launch site.
Deja vu.
The plan is to build a ramp in front of the mountain. A cable pulley system will connect a tow truck on one side, and perpendicular to that, the Chevy Impala. Attached to the Impala will be rockets with 10,000 pounds of thrust. The truck will pull the car towards the ramp. The rockets will ignite and hopefully hurtle the Chevy into the heavens. First, they need to erect the all-important ramp. 2 40-foot-long shipping containers will be the building blocks for this giant job.
Feel ready? We have a lot of work to do to fill it.
Hold me back.
The guys have hollered for their good friend and former Mythbuster, Scotty, to help out.
Basically, instead of building a ramp, what we decided to do was take 2 containers and we're going to slice them diagonally so that they're basically wedge-shaped, flip them over, and run the car off the containers.
Starting at the top, she slices all the way down to the base. Then Jamie fires up one of his favorite forms of transportation.
Yeah, baby.
And goes in to do some delicate surgery. With the containers sliced into even chunks, Jamie drags them into position and gently nudges them so they lie side by side. All the activity is stirring up some interest.
I'm going in. Right there.
Finally, an army of helpers lay fiberboard over the entire surface, so the car will have a nice, smooth run-up.
I think we need to move the whole thing in about 6 inches to the left.
Now, to shift this myth into gear.
It's time to install the rockets.
These babies have been custom-made by one of the most renowned rocket makers in the nation and contain the same kind of highly charged fuel that's used in the space shuttle.
These motors are ammonium perchlorate cast slipped inside of the aluminum housing. They light at 450 degrees. One of these rocket motors have enough thrust to tickle space. In a straight trajectory, these things can go up to 20 miles.
With the rockets taken care of, it's Jamie and Adam's responsibility to make sure the car reaches the ramp. With only one shot at this, simplicity is key.
The myth says that the car was moving when the rockets went off, so we've got to get the car up to speed. The most straightforward and reliable way we know to do that is to pull it with a cable. We've done radio controls before, but we're really only interested with the actual airborne part of this, and so we're just cutting to the chase.
To ensure their system is foolproof, they need to do some dry runs. Adam has tied surgical tubing to the steering wheel to keep it from drifting off course.
Okay, Scotty. Go at will, over.
As Scotty moves forward, she pulls Adam in a straight line.
Everything's looking perfect, over.
But his aim is off.
Looks like I'm drifting ever so slightly to the right.
You should stop.
There was a little bit of wandering towards the end. I'm going to try and eliminate that with some tape marks and making sure my surgical tubing is well tensioned.
Adam redirects the car. With all that's at stake, he doesn't care how long it takes to get it right.
I'm willing to do this for 2 solid hours, just to dial it in and make sure it's perfect, because, boy, I'd hate to watch it screw up.
They go again.
Lovely. You've got a nice touch now, Scotty, so go ahead and get us up to 20.
And Adam is right on target.
Okay, stop.
That was it, over.
Yeah, you see what I was doing with learning how to really aim this thing.
Yeah, I could tell from here that you were lined up perfectly. All right, I'm good to go.
With their guidance system operating perfectly,
3,
there's only one
2,
thing left to do.
1.
Is Jamie really going to ride the rocket car to his certain doom? Find out next on Mythbusters. So I want you to cast your mind back to early Mythbusters, our first truly spectacular myth, rocket car. Remember where we strapped the rocket to the top of an Impala? Well, we're tackling it again, but this time with 10 times the raw power and much bigger rockets.
The idea is to tow the Impala towards this ramp, ignite rockets on its rear with 10,000 pounds of thrust, and send it flying over a mile on a direct collision course into this mountain. Our rockets were outsourced to explosive experts, and their forecast is far.
According to our rocket scientists that have calculated all this out, we're going to be going upwards of 150 miles an hour by the time the tip of the car reaches the end of the ramp. So we're going to continue to go, and I can't help but think we'll go quite far. We're fully done. I'm good. I'm good. Don't. You can let it go.
Everyone assumes their positions.
That's it, guys. Clear the scene.
Okay, the vehicle is fully locked and loaded, and we're on our way to the bunker.
Scotty will be in the pickup truck, the tow vehicle. She will start towing this car towards the ramp. Jamie and I will be in a bunker about 200 feet to the left of the ramp, watching on high speed and in person exactly what's going to happen. We are going to have cameras placed all over the lake bed here to make sure we've covered this from every possible angle. We'll be able to see both from the start of its trajectory all the way to the end, hopefully.
Okay, this is Jamie. We are good to go. So everybody has to be in their safety positions.
Scotty, there's no difference between this and any other run.
Only that something highly explosive is behind me.
There's no turning back now. The moment has come for rocket cars made in flight.
Okay, you are good to go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good, it's on the hook. It's moving well. There it goes. It's heading towards the ramp. Or not.
Failure is always an option. After all the planning, the tension, and anticipation for their '67 Chevy Impala, the rocket simply exploded, taking her nowhere.
Wow.
What was that?
That was one thing I didn't expect. Total explosion upon ignition.
Well, let's reset.
Next time, there'll be an extra box to tick on the risk assessment document.
All our hard planning and careful thought about how to make this absolutely bulletproof worked.
The launch, the ignition, the trajectory, the ramp was all dead on the money.
Unfortunately, we had one little detail at the end, which was that the whole damn thing blew up.
It's the one thing we didn't have control over. I will say this, Jamie. That ramp held up a tree.
So what was the reason for the over-enthusiastic kaboom?
You have any ideas about what happened?
I have to talk to the guys that built them, but I'm going to say it overpressurized and went.
So we built a big rolling bomb instead of a rocket. Do we get our money back? I think someone owes me $10,000.
Their once glorious 67 Chevy Impala is now merely a shell of its former self.
Oh, look. The suspension is still good.
Hey, Jamie. I left one of my pairs of gloves in the car.
Well, maybe if you soak them in water a little while, they'll swell back up again. What do you think?
That used to be that.
So how do you wrap up such a smoking wreck?
I have to say, I don't think we've ever found ourselves in this position, but we were really unable to answer the central questions of this myth, i.e. 1.3 miles or 300 miles per hour.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think it wouldn't have done 1.3 miles, but that's beside the point. We were totally diligent about everything. Absolutely everything worked perfectly.
Yep, the rockets were professionally made.
Yeah.
We buttoned everything down. I'd say the best we can call this is appropriately supersized.
Rocket car sucked when it blew up. Rocket car sucked when it blew up. Rocket car sucked when it blew up. Rocket car sucked when it blew up.